we got a full crowd today, which is nice. So thank you. And DT and Keita, I'm glad you were able to wake up. So thank you. Um, James is in Connecticut, and Angela's got the full fam. So I'm in Cloud City. So this is groovy. So let's just do a real quick summary. So where are we right now? Um, there's a lot of documentation floating out there. We've got there's a white paper that's in a Dropbox that you all should have. I think that kind of synthesizes what we're looking to do, which is launch the leadership, which is a hybrid, and a hybrid model that is it's going to be capable of receiving inputs through a voting mechanism, but also have a little bit of latitude to be able to make a command decisions, because there is some, there might be some transparency or some optics or whatnot to prioritize an idea that may be a little bit lower on the meteor list, pluck it up, but we'll not be able to do so unilaterally. We'll need to justify and defend that decision. Maybe puts it back into the voting mechanism. We'll figure that out as we go along, but that's the general gist of it. And so I think that's what the idea is, or the objective is, between now and September 17th, is to take that model and then do some field testing. By field testing is between now and the 17th, or Monday and the 17th, we'll start running ideas through the system, have folks upvote them, have the leadership board reprioritize, do really functional, start putting it to use. Our leadership board actually hasn't done anything, so there's not a whole lot of data for us to report on. And so over the next, until the 17th, we'll do some rapid prototyping, like we've done before. Rapid prototyping is not just an idea. I think at the end it's going to be it's another engagement strategy. It's another tool. So we have voting, which is a participation piece. It's binary. It's a yes or a no. It's going to be very appealing to a lot of people. And then some of those folks that vote are going to want to carry over and then participate in rapid prototyping, which is going to be the defining, the execution, the implementation of said idea. Participation. So we now have it as a process. So it appeals to a lot of different mindsets, a lot of different engagement philosophies, and then it really gets to the heart of the matter of, the legitimacy and the primacy of the leadership board. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. I think, hopefully from that high level, that's kind of, as a synthesis, that's kind of what we've been building up to. And so the next step in that is, there's been some questions or some surveys that that I cobbled together. It's been a synthesis of a lot of the ideas and issues we've been discussing. So I was really hoping by Sunday to drill down. I mean, we really won't need them until next Friday or next Saturday anyway, but to really put a critical eye to them. The last series of surveys, as DT can attest to, were, because she came at the back end, really were very poorly constructed, and primarily because they weren't designed to collect data for a research project. They were designed to provide block and tackling course correction for the leadership board. So, as DT and Nikita were kind of distilling all the data and finding a lot of holes in it, it really has informed this process for us to be much more purposeful, be very, very critical of the questions that we're asking, to make sure that they drive answers or provide data so we can make determinations on satisfaction. We can make trust. We can look at efficiency and power, and then all the iterations thereof. Those are, in tandem, those are our foundational principles, and that's where there was a lot of critique on our paper, was to get some more detail into those mechanics, even, or those relationships, or that interplay. So, so I'm hoping that collectively we could really drill down into make sure the questions are on point, that we have enough data there that we can make some value statements or at least propel the CHI paper. And then to get even deeper, how are we going to ask these questions? Are we going to ask leading ones? Are we going to have a scale, 1 to 5, drop-down menus, and the like, really start getting into the mechanics? Because, again, that'll help process a lot of data. And that's, once we can get some consensus on that, I think we're ready to roll. Meteor is up and running. We've got a good communication strategy that we used over the last couple months now. I was kind of running point. It's kind of being stage managing a lot of things. I am more than happy to kind of share that with folks. And I think maybe that's I would very much like for that to happen, so we can. I think Bernstein wanted to diffuse the DRIs. I would like within this group to also diffuse a lot of the stuff, so the organization sees more than this shiny face. Let's get. This has been truly a collaboration. It's Jay Silverhead, the hybrid piece. James comes up with the idea of high and low impact. And Kiti and Dita, you guys are working on the analytics. So if we could, I can assign responsibilities. I'd much rather not. I'd much rather you all, and Dita and Kiti, I know you all are going to, at the back end, start doing surveys and managing that kind of stuff. But James, if you want to stage manage one of the sprints, what I mean by that is that we'll do sequences of 2 weeks and do 3 of them for ideas. By all means, Jay Silver, however, whatever you want to do as far as managing and owning. I mean, you're bringing the vision for the leadership concept. So, get you guys on out there. Let's see how that works. And then, we process data on, every 2 weeks. Maybe we'd be able to do some assessments, some course correction. But I think it's probably beneficial for us to collect data and have significant writing sessions every 2 weeks, because at the end, by the 17th, that gives us like only 8 days to write a 10-page paper. And so if sequentially during this rollout we can have good data collection, analyzing, assessment, and paper writing in conjunction, I think will be a nice tempo, good velocity type of product at the end. Yeah, I know 10 pages will fill quickly. I'd much rather we have 15 and then we're editing down than struggling to try to figure out ways to manipulate data to 10. So that's kind of where we are right now. So thoughts, suggestions, processes, any gaps, anything that you think is missing?
Bernstein had said that we shouldn't go ahead with experiments in the survey, like in the WooGov channel, I think yesterday or sure. So, what do we do with that? Like, should we just?
I think that was just bad language on my part. We're not doing experiments, we're doing field studies.
So we're not doing it because we've got a model. We're just like trying it out.
Yeah, so, we're observing. We're doing field work. So,
okay.
So he read that white paper. It was just poor language on my part. We are not running an experiment. We've committed to the leadership board, and now we're going to assess and evaluate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fine. Sounds good. Cool. Okay.
Yep.
Is Jay Silver online?
We're not going rogue. Jay Silver the robot? Jay Silver the robot's here. Yeah. Say hi, Jay Silver.
Oh, he's here. Oh shit! I didn't see you. Sorry. Cool.
So there's a couple things. So as I've been thinking through all that, yeah, Jay Silver is a robot. So here is one of the things, or there's been a lot of things we've been talking about, and one is kind of rules. We have very few rules. A lot of it, I think, is less is more, but We have well-balanced folks here. Um, we have a good group of folks that are going to be able to be honest and authentic, know their limitations, be able to balance their curiosity with their ability to contribute. Um, as we scale out, uh, is that still reasonable, or should we, in one of our experiments, put in place a lot of rules um, that kind of determines, hey, you can only vote or participate in your area of expertise, your skill set. Um, Wondering, it's just more of a flyer. James sent over a big basket of case studies on governance, and um, it's almost universal that, and the case studies that he sent over, if you haven't read them, you should. They're a cross section. None of them are really global in scale and scope. Some of them are large, uh, but they're all predicated on having workers that have good intentions. I'm okay with that, but maybe we work out a scenario where we don't. Maybe we curtail. Uh, in every case study, when you start inhibiting folks and you start um, putting constraints on folks, that has a tremendous impact on legitimacy. It totally erodes it. So I don't know. Maybe we want to test drive. Do we really want to? We want to break the leadership board as kind of like the denouement. The last week we just say screw it.
Do you think we could do almost like a role play where we just try to do things quickly so that we don't have to go through the whole process necessarily, but we could give people the roles of, okay, this is.
Yeah, James, you kind of died, but that's interesting because one of the things
You're trying to break the system. You're trying to be a very selfish person and like give them that identity just for the role play to kind of try to test a little bit. I don't know, what do you think of that?
Something similar was mentioned. I think Angela may have brought forth. I know Bernstein did. Neil may have as well. Is that let's see? I'm sorry. Folks are. So just as a little heads up, if you want to slack in, if your computer rolls down, OGov and operations is the place to find this. Okay. So, I think James had kind of harkened back to some of the concerns that were brought forth. Initially we were trying to look at a system that was here in the now, and then we were going to scale out. But really, what we are observing is just how the leadership board is going to help build the system. And in doing so, we make some caveats. Look, we don't actually have real requesters. We don't actually have real workers. We've got strong representation. Neil, Bernstein, Angela, Jay Silver, Spam Girl. We have a lot of experience, but they're I don't want to say facsimile, but in this legitimate organization, they're just representing. But I think it's a valid question to consider that if we gave folks, or we peppered the crowd with some roles to play and scripted it out, see what would happen. And DT and Kita, we're doing field work, so I think we're looking for honest honest assessment. I think if we do role playing, as I think through this, that's going to come a little bit more, or a little closer to an experiment, don't you think?
Yeah, it sounds good because we do have a good share of requesters and workers in the platform right now. I'm cool with that. We can do it.
Yeah, you want to try it? Okay, well, James, you get the booby prize. Great idea. Do you want to try to scope something out? Maybe script something up with Jay Silver and look at a scenario or two that if we've got some time in the last sprint, we try something goofy?
Yeah, we can see where our priorities are, and yeah, I think as long as there's time for it, this would be kind of like the icing on the cake or the cherry on top, whatever you want to call it.
Cool. Okay. Let's just put that out as a contingency. So that being said, we can. I'd really like to get some deep thoughts on the survey questions, and the research methodology that we're going to structure around. If you all have you given any sort of thought into the questions? I know in DT Ankita we had you all had some bullet points from your last go through. I think I addressed some of them in recrafting some of the questions. Do we have any more questions or any more concerns about the survey part of the program? Survey says.
I think you summarized it really well, and the Word doc that you sent out, that was a good set of questions. Now we just have to put it into a form and sort of finalize it. Yeah.
Okay, I don't want to steamroll it, but DT Ankita, could you all then give it the once over as far as delivery? What are you getting? You got snacks in DT? Could you all then, because we'll use SurveyMonkey this time around, and I'm going to upgrade the service, so we'll have a little more of a polished, presentation. There is then, with a higher rate of service, there's an analytics package on the back end, so some of the number comes for us. But thank you. But what I think then the next question is, what's some of the value versus doing ratings, drop-down menus, using some free-form boxes and being able to maybe do some NLP or some text evaluation. You all have any thoughts on how it should be broken down? My research methods and design is old. I'm trying to get myself caught up on all that, but you all are much more big data oriented than I. So, any thoughts or opinions on that? Certainly like to execute and put them into play.
I think for now, just the direct survey would work, because we don't have enough data to sort of do too much analytics on it. But maybe once we have the data, we'll get some more ideas and sort of try to figure out.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Ankita and I, we talked a little bit about research and survey fatigue. Anyone have some thoughts about us being a little overly aggressive? If we were to drop a survey at the end of each 2-week sprint, so you'd have an intake survey, you'd have 3 additional surveys, and then a final. I know it's a lot of stuff, but each week the survey would be the same. It would just be then to comment and capture their thoughts, and those being the people that have participated on, because we'll need to control the distribution of ideas to a certain extent, so we can assess and evaluate. So, we'll address 2 ideas in a 2-week sprint, 1 high, 1 low, so we can start seeing any dissonance between the sexy ideas and the non-sexy ideas. That won't be revealed to the crew. We'll keep that within ourselves, but then being able to now see where there's this idea contagion within a very short period of time, but then start to see over the course of the whole series who's participating, who's falling off, are people only engaging their ideas, so if they vote up an idea and their idea gets accepted, they stay, or if their idea doesn't move forward, do they drop off? And so I think being able to capture that over, throughout the entirety gives us some additional details in the engagement strategy. Because at the end of the day, we're gonna offer up as much of an open house as possible. But if folks then aren't self-sorting, if they are not self-managing, I mean, it just doesn't work. So that's one thing to start measuring, and that's where that very large census email or a survey I put at the very top is to start engaging with some of those questions about motives and drives and the like, and to see now if there are some pathologies, some traits, or some trends we can capture. I'm doing a lot of talking here, folks. I'm tired. Anyone got anything else?
I mean, for us, it's a good thing. The more data we have, the more analysis we can do. But I'm not sure if the crowd would really like, having to fill out a survey every 2 days. So we should probably consider that too.
Yeah.
So if we're having a 2-week experiment on it, we should probably have it once at the end of the first week and then the final one, or do you want to have more?
Well, let's talk about velocity, and Angela, it would be every 2 weeks. I mean, the idea was initially is to do 3 2-week sprints. It would give us more data points. We'll have a constantly refresh of ideas. We'll then, there'll be high velocity for 6 weeks. So then we can get also a sense of fatigue, not just of the survey, but of engagement. Are people getting tuckered out? What is the proper tempo and the velocity? More data points to get. And then at that point, if we have 3 of them, we have that's 6 ideas, high and low, that we can triangulate off of. In addition to, then we have 6 ideas that are going to be critical to the functionality of the platform that are actually will be completed or will have moved significantly forward. So mull that over, folks, about survey fatigue. Because I think, and DT mentioned it, or Keto, or both, you probably at different times, that it doesn't, if no one gives us complete data, it's hard. So that being said, are there some other observations that we can do? We've been looking at keyword searching through Slack. Allison has downloaded all the wikis into MongoDB. And so she's going to do some idea contagion stuff there. But what we can do is that when ideas get posted up on Meteor, we also make sure they get posted up on the wiki. And James, maybe we should talk a little bit about this: which is the best practices to put into play here. Should each individual create a wiki of their own, or should we have silos? And have a wiki idea, and everyone contributes to that one wiki. I mean, we push down. But what we do is have we have a platform now where we can start capturing participation in both Meteor and the wiki. So we'll have some other additional data points. But can we all maybe observationally, we're kind of inmates in our own asylum, but if we're doing field work, I'm kind of thinking out loud, are there other tools of engagement or measurement that we can draw upon by, playing in the field? I think in Meteor, yes. Angela was asking about upvotes on Meteor. Are they aligned to a person? Last time I checked, yes. Are you suggesting? So, I think Angela's going down the route that we discussed just a little bit today, but we've talked in the past about identifying or aligning ideas with an individual. I don't know if you all have read any Rawls. the veil of ignorance of the original position, theory of justice, kind of old school political theory, predates the internet. And basically, the assessment is that how can you assess people's social standing if you can separate a person from their ideas? Pretty heady stuff. I think that's almost a social. That I think might almost be a social experiment if we go down that route. I'm intrigued. I'm always curious in how do people respond. Do they respond to the idea, or do they respond to the idea as it aligns to a person, or do they just respond to the person? Okay, looks like James is going to drop. Sorry, bud. These ideas are kind of rolling into your domain, so hopefully we can connect then after the meetup. Can't hang out, work on slides. Oh, Michael Bernstein popped in. It's like, Mr. Bernstein, no, we're Mr. Professor. We are doing good. We're kind of spitballing and brainstorming here, but if we do, we'll present them on over at the milestone on Saturday. Thank you. So we could maybe write up a quick proposal on that. Maybe we'll pose that over to James or Jay Silver. That'd be a curious idea to fold on over to the good doctor, because in the literature, idea transfer is, I use the expression currency, but it's the ties that bind. It is very much a fixture of contribution and participation. Do we undermine it by taking away, and there's a certain amount of pride and ownership in being able to nurture and move forth an idea. Do we undermine that foundational element by removing the ownership from the idea? Is that a good thing or a bad thing? And is this the right time to run that do that field work? Or that would almost be an experiment. Is this a good time to do that? Or do we wait and do a little more bantering around on that? Because that's heavy. I didn't say brainstorming, I said we're spitballing. Okay. Any no thoughts? So Jay Silver, what you're out there in the real world. What do you think about when you are engaging your peers? How are you engaging your peers or what your peers say? Or are you engaging ideas, just the sanctity of an idea, or the appeal of an idea? I think we're using the sexy factor. There's a much faster way to do that. Jay Silver's typing up some stuff, so. Okay. All right. Okay. Let's, I don't want to table it, but let's throw that in the mix. And maybe brainstorm or spitball, though. I'll do a little more research into some of the case studies that I've been reading about governance. For the most part, ideas are attached to people, and there is no But for the most part, most of the platforms I've been looking at, they're much more homogeneous than ours. And I would anticipate we're going to have a multi-generational, we're going to have a lot of multis that's going to have a melting pot. So think about it then from a cultural perspective. If we're going to have a lot of different cultures, a lot of different generations, how do people process that information? How are they going to act upon an idea? Is it going to appeal to some and maybe turn others off completely? I know there are some people out there that are thought processors that when they collect a lot of information, they need to know where the idea is coming from, or it's not going to work. So I think there's a lot of variables. Totally cool concept. All right. Following Jay Silver, he's like, why aren't people going to own ideas unless they suck? Well, he said bad, but I know he really wanted to say suck. So that's another point. That there's a quality, there's a pedigree. It's a kind of a feedback cycle. People have good ideas. How can you then identify the talent that you want to put on the next leadership board? What's going to be your reference points to identifying those folks that are going to rise up? Because one would suspect those people that are generating ideas or participating in such a way would be that talent pool of leadership. So just spitballing, I think it's a cool idea. What it means, I'm not really sure. It may deviate a little bit from the idea concept. Who is Jay Silver? Jay Silver's a robot. Come on, man. It may deviate from the idea of contagion or the idea of transfer concept that's really binding. So let's give it some more thought. But at the same time, let's not let it distract from the appointed round. So I've really been talking everyone's ear off, or you have earbuds in both of them. So thank you for indulging me. Any points? Are we missing stuff, or any points of contribution, or stuff?
I know you mentioned that it's not an experiment and it's just a sprint, but don't we need to figure out some rules, some basic ground rules of how this is going to work? Like workers post ideas, and how often does the LB review it and it gets upvoted and all those sorts of things?
Yeah.
Don't we need to set those out today to inform everybody so they know?
Yeah, I think those are, you're spot on. Those are some of the procedural touchstones that are part of the field work. So, what we've been doing is a 24-hour turnaround. So, so there's the white paper that I put up, that I posted, which synthesized all of our ideas to kind of capture what the field experiments would all be all about. I think we have consensus on that. No one's chimed in otherwise. Let me then do a private version that we keep amongst ourselves. The reason for it, obviously, is you don't want. I think we want to keep some of the observational components out of the public eye. So of course, they watch this still. Oh, what's up? So I'll kind of lay out the script. We'll look at then the tempo and the velocity. We'll look at some of the steps. So, normally, we call ideas. We'll clean out Meteor. We'll start announcing, hey, here's the plan. We'll either drop that on the crew on Sunday or Monday. I'll start advertising it as we've done in the past. Give folks 24, 48 hours to upvote, to put ideas out there, debate them, suggest them, coalesce around them. So probably instead of 24, 48 hours. Then the leadership board will convene, probably let's say on a Thursday, make some decisions, and then on Friday we can announce out, that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And just kind of work on that tempo. Then on Saturday at the milestone, we can announce, hey, this is what's out there. And then the next week, it's a rapid prototype using the similar tempo. It's like, okay, these are the two ideas we're working on. And so I say we let the crowd self-sort. You could have maybe we assign GRIs, but let's just say it's a pricing idea and social media, or it's a high and a low. I think if you throw them out there, it'll be interesting to see, if the people who voted or whose original idea was upvoted, how do they, are they going to start taking ownership and then drive the prototype through? The expectation is that's what's going to happen. Let's hope that's what happens. So I think the next week then is give out just some general guidelines, but the idea is that by that Saturday, there's either a resolution or there's a failure. There's an idea that gets thrown into the ecosystem, or we realize that there's a failure of the idea is well scoped. The byproducts of prototyping. And then that's actually not a bad thing, because then we just determine how does that idea get back into the system. Jason was talking about feedback loops. Is this an opportunity then? Does that idea get prioritized? Does it go right to the top of the list? Or does it get redebated because there's a bunch of stuff? And this is where it starts to get a little interesting, when there's real-time stuff going on. So I think the first week for upvoting and whatnot, there's some structure, there's some deadlines. The second week, because we're going to be hands-off, hopefully folks are going to take leadership, that we just mentioned that the product needs to be delivered by end of day Friday or first thing Saturday. So Bernstein or whomever, we have to figure out a way then that the idea gets presented, and then so how about it all must be done by that Friday, and then there is like a presentation and a review and then a vote, like yes or no, that kind of thing. And then we throw it into the ecosystem. Good doctors.
And another idea or thought we just had was, instead of fixing it to like 2-week or three sprints of 2 weeks each, can't we, I mean, based on the survey results, can we like sort of tweak things around so we don't really commit to the 3 weeks right now, like in today's hangout?
Yeah.
We just start with 2 weeks, and then based on the survey results, we can, I don't know what we'll get, but once we have them, we might change our minds.
Change our minds.
I mean, with the system.
Okay, let's take a look at that. I think if we have the structure in play, we can modify. I would be really shocked if we uncovered like a ghost in the machine. It's like it completely failed. And for that same token, if we revealed some really like obscure, weird stuff in the survey data, I think kind of expecting vanilla. I think we're going to have a lot of confirmation bias. I think we're going to get a lot of reinforcement that we're on the right thing. I think the hybrid model is going to end up being a good winner for us. So, but yes, I like the contingency planning of being flexible just in case. because I think as you've mentioned a couple times, and Allison also um, is that tempo realistic? You know, do ideas need a little more time to flourish? Instead of having 3 2-week sprints, what about having 2 3-week sprints? 1 week of voting and assessing, and then 2 weeks to flesh it out. That would be, we cut our survey data by a third, but do we give ideas the opportunity to actually mature and give folks the opportunity? Because I know we talked a couple weeks ago about some folks that process quickly and don't. Yeah, Jay Silver, I'm of the impression that we do 3 2-week sprints. That also strikes to my particular biases of quick processing and the like. Not for the sake of getting it done, but I want to know at the end of that period we have something to contribute to the ecosystem. We have a failure. We know right off the bat. So let's keep thinking about that. This is an easier. Yes, I did 3 2-week sprints. So let me do this. What seems to have been working well is that I've been summarizing and taking all of our biases and taking all of our thoughts and then putting into paper. And then I think that gives us a little time to see it, comment, and digest it. So let me do that. I'll script out then what the next 6 weeks are going to look like. Share it with you guys. Give it some rigor. Really criticize the heck out of it. And that'll give us one piece of the puzzle. And Dita and Kiti, y'all, by the way, they're calling themselves the slackers. So let's have the slackers work on the research method. If you all can really kick out the survey questions, really put a lot of rigor and start aligning them in such a way to see which is better to do them with a range or multiple choice and the like. Because at the end of the day, you all are going to be the principals are going to be crunching that and then either putting it into an analytic or doing something with it. So I would feel much more comfortable if you all had, ownership of that piece. Okay. Don't want to put too much pressure on y'all, but considering how well you all did with the last survey, that seems like a very reasonable thing. And then we can start aligning some of the work that Allison is doing. Neil mentioned he might be able to scrape Slack, so we're going to try to figure out another way to some of that data. So if we could, start coalescing around now the analytics and the data and start speculating on what we'll be able to do with it. Is there a visual component there? I'm really thinking looking into the future. But really starting to assess how demonstrative we can be on satisfaction, trust, power, and efficiency. So, I think about that. And then James will start working on idea transfer, idea contagion, and then knowledge maintenance, management. Start seeing if there's something that we could fold in here. Just ask some questions like, how stymied are you by your inability to access data, or reference it, or ask some of those naive questions. Because there's some consensus that the forum isn't needed right now, and I would like for us to be able to, at the end of this sequence, say, we need the forum. And we need that fairly quickly. We need a project dashboard even, so people have like this ultimate transparency of what's going on. So we have analytics, we've got the script, we've got ideas. I think that's about it. Um, unless there's some other things that are out there. Um, I think it's tight. Um, so needs the engagement. Yes. Yeah. So this is another thing. So then this is the final piece, since I'm saying reputation system, prototyping. So one of the open questions from the list paper was the, I guess, almost the integration of prototyping, OpGov, and rep systems. We've kind of gone through and I think we're aligned on addressing all the other critique except for that one. And to be honest, my brain kind of shuts down at that sort of cross-pollination. But this is the time for us to start thinking about some of those things because we can't really re-engineer. So the last thing, if you program yourself to dream or you're going to be daydreaming at work, how can we validate, justify, or explain how integrated prototyping is? I think that's milestone zero type prototyping as opposed to what we're going to be doing. But I think we can talk about the culture of prototyping if we need to. Ties into the rep system, and then OGov, how they're all related. There's an answer. I don't know what it is right now. So there's a lot there. I think Angela is like double dipping on us. Are you running over on your reputation system call right now? You got like two computers, 4 kids, doing both hands. Okay. Slackers. You got
no, sorry, I'm on now. Yeah, I'm not. I am double dipping actually, triple dipping because I'm also in the garden.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So Slackers, Anditi, Ankita, you guys okay owning the analytics and the survey?
Yeah, cool. Sounds good.
Yeah. Okay. Then in midterm or maybe in the middle of the week, then let's coordinate with what Allison is doing and get Neil to talk about Slack. If not, I'd like for us to have a contingency on how we could do keywording through Slack. I know it's a pain in the tuchus, but maybe there's an automation we can do there. Okay. James, I know you are here but not here. We'll circle back and talk about ideas, knowledge management. Jay Silver, are you feeling comfortable about all this? This is, you're the godfather of the hybrid system. So, are you feeling like we're doing justice to it? Let's see if he's going to Slack me. Yeah, let's do it and break it. Awesome. Okay. Then I think we are pretty done here. So start thinking about all this stuff. Let's keep our riding hats on. This is an observational exercise, so if you see cool things, you see engagements, those are anecdotes. Document them. You have a good conversation with someone, or you see something, or you see an idea that, that's new, idea contagion, for one, spitballing another, and you start seeing it, say something, okay? Let's have a lot of observations on from Monday on down. Let's make sure that we are always monitoring Slack and that we're keeping our eye on things so we can tap into things and just document. We may not use it, but let's have more than not enough. Okay. with that, we have 2 minutes to midnight. So thank you all. I'm very sorry for talking your ears off on this one. But I think we're really, really close. I think we're there. So as usual, any questions or concerns, just, yeah, leadership rules, yeah. So when I send out the kind of the structure, the cheat sheet, it'll have all that. So like when we announce next week what we're doing, it'll be like, here's a layout, here's the leadership board, here's how it's going to function, here are the rules, here's some of the procedural steps. It'll be more, not constitution-y, it'll be very transactional. And it'll give folks enough latitude. I think Jay Silver and I had a really brief conversation about less is more. So I think if we're going to default, it's going to be to give folks the opportunity to make some decisions. Okay? And we'll kind of see how that goes. So with that, ladies and germs, thank you so much. Great day. Happy Saturday. You think 1 to 3? Wow.
Pardon?
So Jay Silver I was thinking, in a binary of having 2 ideas, but what do you think if we injected more than 2 ideas into the system at a time? Does that really muck up the system? I mean, do we have enough people to absorb, 3 heady ideas?
Yeah, how many?
What's that, Angela? How many? I mean, we have 70. We had 78 folks that participated in the last election. I have seen a significant uptick in new folks that are coming back. We could try to do a census to get a baseline beforehand, but really, we can just work off a percentage.
Right.
And that is a value judgment stated there, that if we have 78 folks on Slack, but we're getting participation rates of 5 or 6 folks that are declaring, that speaks volumes. It's not the data that we want, but it does speak to participation and engagement, and then it begs the question, what are we doing wrong? Or, all the case studies we've seen, they are folks that are much more unified, more homogeneous. Maybe because we're going to be such a diffuse, culturally effective organization, we're going to need to anticipate that. And, instead of being able to push things down so crowd drives, this could be one of those ironies, and we kind of discussed this a couple weeks ago, that an oligarchy, while, it's repugnant in the historical concept, some of the bureaucratic features of an oligarchy are critical to getting some of the more mundane tasks working. We might want to consider that if our participation rates are down. I think Ankita mentioned being able to shift gears a little bit. I don't know where we maybe apply a different model, but if there's low participation rates, perhaps one of the fixtures or one of the correlations, the levels of causality, is that in a multicultural, flat organization, you need your officers. That's getting a little ahead of ourselves, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see some of that. So that's that. So I'm now just kind of spinning wheels here, folks. I really appreciate everyone's time. I know there's a lot of things going on simultaneously. So, let's. Oh, you want to do this 2 weeks? Okay. Well, guys, if you all want to, let's keep the conversation going on Slack with regards to some of the smaller pieces. I think we're asking all the right questions at the right time. Tied to velocity and sustainability and fatigue and the like. I think those are very lean, structured questions. They deal with health and wellness. And while they may sound earthy, crunchy, those are organizational directives that we should always be cognizant of. Is that we want to create a healthy and well organization for our folks. And some of these questions kind of strike to that. So with that, thank you so much. We will see you all tomorrow on the Michael Bernstein Hour. And
thanks for hosting it. Well done.
Thank you, Angela. Least we can do. And you go off now and have fun at RepSys. And I'll send out all the content that I promised. But let's have if need be, maybe an ad hoc call on Sunday night or possibly Monday morning. But let's look at rolling this thing out on Monday.
Great. Sounds good.
Thanks, everyone. We'll talk to you all later.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
We are now broadcasting.